travels. Well, this was a mod that they did a little bit later on with the dot trailer, and it was always a mod I thought about doing, because I've been caught out once, and I noticed again recently it's been so humid in Perth that down here, and I really should have taken a video of this before I pulled it all out. But this is basically, so we're in the front. So basically in the front of the camper was that box, which is it's a really useful box. So I can put a lot of gear in there, but nearly a third of their box was taken up with the electronics, being the Redvision RedArc gear, which is a great setup, especially for the camper. Control everything at one point, remote access, turn lights and switching and such on and off. But I used to sit in down the base of this box, and unfortunately, the old fella being the old fella, I forgot to take a video of it before I actually ripped the guts out of it. But he used to sit down in here, in this box, and you see there's a backboard there. This used to get, and you can see, you can see the rust, that we've got here, and I mean there's no end of indicators that it used to get moist down here and damp. And so it was always a concern for me that, and I did have some problems with the electrics at one stage, bad earth. It took me forever to chase the bad earth down, but it was actually a bad earth on the earth was a bit hidden away, not intentionally, but the earth was a little bit hidden away by the other gear. What I found was there's an earth down, there was the main earth that was down the bottom there. And that earth in itself started giving me a bit of grief. I started getting some flickering in the lights. The fridge was cutting out, so I couldn't actually run the fridge out of the camper on the last prospecting trip, because I'd get a voltage drop, and the fridge would turn off, and that's the little fridge, little 40 litre Ingle there, that's my freezer, so I couldn't afford to have that out of sorts. But I have had a little bit of water down in this section down here, and just a trickle of water come in, and I was very lucky. So, and this is something they did do on the later model dots, not long after this build. And basically what they did was the electrical system would be mounted in here, and they'd have a drop down panel that would give us some protection. As you can see, all the gear's been ripped out. I've still got all the cabling here. I've stripped a lot of the insulation tape back off it, and it looks terribly complex. There's bits and pieces of harness and looms everywhere. Am I concerned about that? I am a little bit. It might never work again, but I've taken a fair bit of due diligence. I've labelled and marked and taken photos and such. So I've done a good bit of electrical work before, and I've got a level of confidence that I can get it nailed. And hopefully, it's going to be a mess if I don't. You can see, there's cable laying everywhere. The harness has been stripped out, and I suppose the challenge is putting it back together the right way. But I reckon we can do it. How hard can it be? I mean, what can possibly go wrong? Anyway, that's about where we're at. I inadvertently, when I was, I drilled a couple of pop rivets out, and I inadvertently drilled straight through the bloody two supplies that go to the tank measurements. So it's not a big deal. It's just the two tank levelers back to the back into the system that goes back into the display on the Redvision. Not a big deal. I know where they come from, and I know the two RJ45s they need to be connected to, so that's not a big deal, and they're easy to identify. They're the only two grey. They basically look like Cat 4 cables, to be honest, or Cat 5 cables into RJ45, so that's no big deal. I can get that sorted, but it's going to take some time. So I suppose it's time to pack the gear away. Another crack tomorrow. I'm just going to have a bit of a crack and see if I can't get that cable run down. I spent a few minutes on that. It's a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see if we can get that. So that's the work tomorrow, to get that cable rerun, get it up here, get this stuff mounted, and get it plugged. I'll get it plugged in first, and then see if I've kicked a goal or whether I've burnt the entire system and have to start again from scratch. We'll see how we go soon, guys. There'll be another video. I'll either be laughing or crying, but we'll see how we go. Cheers, team. See you in the next one. Alright team, all fellas travels well. We continue on with the rewiring of the camper, and we'll see how it goes. It's a little bit messy, but this is where we're at. So we've pulled it all out of the front, as we've seen in the previous clip, and now we've got it all lined up here, ready to get wired up again. See, the idea here is this board will bolt onto the back of there. I've made a provision for that to fit into the board, so it fits nice and flat. And we're just beginning the wiring, so we've got the earth into the RedArc 30 unit, Manager 30. We've got a power supply in the Manager 30, which goes back into here, power supply for the Redvision controller. And that's about the start of it. We've got some of this wiring already in here ready to go. A lot of termination stuff to happen on the end of that, but there's the battery sitting there. I'm not going to put this inverter back in because it's only a 350 watt inverter, and it's way too small for what I want in the future of the camper, so I'm not putting that back in, because soon enough I'll be putting a 2,500 watt or maybe even 3,000 watt inverter in, and possibly a second battery, only because I want to be able to use an induction cooker on. I'm not a fan of gas. It's terrible when it's windy, and you know, induction cooking is just so much quicker and easier to control the heat, and to be quite honest, you only need it on for 10 or 15 minutes with the meals I cook, so that'll be won't be getting installed. So that's where we're at. You can see it's a bit of a mess, bit of spaghetti western wires hanging everywhere, but I know where most of them go. I'm going to have to do a couple of new terminations on some of it, because the only way I could get some of it out was to cut. You know, I need another termination on there and such, but you know, I couldn't get it out of the old wiring setup without cutting a couple of wires. In my expertise, I managed to drill through and cut into both sensors for the water tanks, so I'm going to have to strip those back and do a nice little rewire on each one of those, and double shrink wrap them, and then some tape, and then some anaconda around them. But no big deal, I'll sort that out. Just a bit of soldering, bit of shrink wrap, bit of insulation tape, and bit of anaconda over top, and she'll be honky dory. So we'll get on with her. We'll see if we can't get some wiring going. I won't videotape because it's going to take me a couple of hours to sort it out, I would say. But in the meantime, we'll see how we go, and hope we can't get a working option. I've got all the cabling through. Now here's all the wires that were there before. I might not even need all that length, but I'll look at it. But here's all the wires that are through. Now these are all the wires that go to the sensor. This goes to the Redvision panel, which I had to cut, and this is the RJ5 I had to cut, but I'll wire that back up, colour to colour. That won't be a problem. All these other wires basically just go straight in where they need to go, and that's the next thing to do. So I'll start wiring this up, and once it's wired up we can have a bit of a look at it and maybe power up to see what works and what doesn't work. And once it's all wired up and the panel and I'm happy with everything, I suppose that's the time when I'll start tidying the paperwork, start tidying the wiring up and make it nice and neat and tidy. And I might even get some channels to run it through, but it's probably going to be a few runs of, you know, thin, smaller diameter anaconda, I reckon. But I'll make it nice and neat. But first thing to do is to get it all wired up, get this gaggle of wires all worked out. I know where most of it goes. The main ones I've marked. I've got photos of the other ones that I took before I ripped it out. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't take a photo of it all connected up when it was down, but I think I've pretty much got that nailed, because most along here this is just plugs. There'll be some wires that'll go in here, a couple go in here, but I've got photos of all these, and I've marked all the ones that had power. I've marked, so we should be good to go. So that's the next step. I'll get into that. What's the time here we going? Oh yeah, so I suppose I've been here a couple of hours now, hopefully a couple of hours, and that'll be wired up and I might be ready for a first test. At the end of the day, hopefully she'll be all wired back up. And this panel, I've just got it down at the moment like this because it's just much easier to work on, but it will go up against here like I said. Let's get on with it. Oh, excuse me. And hopefully we'll nail it. I don't want to run into chasing electrical faults or miswiring. It's not fun, but we'll see how we go. We should be right. Talk to you again soon. I'll be smiling or crying, one or the other. Okay, well, I think she's gone pretty well. I think the old fella might have nailed it. Let's have a look. It's almost there. So there's the positive supply to the battery. It goes into the RedArc and into the manager. In fact, that goes all the way around to the manager, I think. I hope I've wired that up correctly. Just a bit of temporary taping up. These are the two cables that I drilled through accidentally that go to the two sensors on the tanks. So they need to be threaded back down or threaded up, and I'll solder those up individually and shrink wrap them and tape them so they're good and secure. The shunt still has to go in. I need to find a place to mount that, and this needs to go to a common earth point, so I need to identify how I'm going to do that. I'll do a bit of YouTube searching and see how that should be best done. That also goes to the negative, so both of these go to a negative point on the trailer that's got a good earth, and they'll provide a solid earth for the trailer. The other end of this goes to the negative on the battery, so that's the shunt. I don't know where this goes yet. I can't remember where that was plugged in, but I'm assuming it'll go to an earth somewhere on the not on the manager, but on the Redvision, the management system, the TVMS. I imagine that'll go some earth on there, but I'll need to look that up because I'm not quite sure. So that's about it. The shunt to go in, power to be connected up. Now this is the other issue we have. So this cable was damaged. Well, I had to cut it for whatever reason, and this connects onto the end of that, which goes not only to the shunt, but also goes to the TVMS, which in turn provides signals to that's inside the box on the other side there on the console, that provides the system information back to the TVMS, to the Redvision screen. I've never done RJ45 connections before, but it's integral, because without that, the system will actually run without that if it was set up. But the Bluetooth connection, I believe, is to the Redvision console, and the Redvision console Bluetooth connection is needed to upload. I've already saved all the configurations that I had on this, and the configuration should be the same. So once I've got it up and running again, I should be able to simply upload the last saved configuration for the vehicle management system, and it should come back to life, provided I've wired everything up correctly and I haven't got any faulty wiring. But apart from that, I think I've pretty much nailed it. I've put in a secondary, because I am going to put a solar panel on top of the rooftop to keep it charging all the time, but I've put a secondary cable in as well, so I can actually, if I need to, I can pop this open and put a secondary external solar panel in. So it's come along. It was a bit of a work. I mean, I've never wired a RedArc system up before. Admittedly, some of the wires, I'd marked and I took photos and that. But as with everything, old fella being the old fella, some of them didn't mark as well as what I should have done, and there was a little bit of confusion, but I think I've got it worked out. So tomorrow I'll mount the shunt tomorrow and work that out and work out an earth point. Okay team, how you going? Old Fellas Travels Mike. This is the day 3 of working on the camper, the rewiring the camper, and I've spent 2 full days on it and probably about 2 hours today to get it finished off. So it's pretty well done and it's all working, and I'll give you a show. It's come up all right. Just a couple of things I've got to do. I've got to clamp down the battery and I need to organise that, and I missed a wire when I was rewiring, and the pump's not wired up yet. So I just got to run a couple of wires from the pump up to the distribution box and we're good to go. So have a look inside. So this is the 240 volt cable I've got here. I've got it on charge at the moment. I don't know how much, that battery is pretty much fully charged as far as I was aware, but I'm not sure 100%. So I'm running a charge into it, and I just got to get a clamp onto this. I'm still not 100% certain if I'm going to leave the battery mounted like that or whether I'm going to drop it on the other side. I think I'm going to keep it on this side, and maybe do some sort of box arrangement here where I can have a little charging bay in here, maybe a lift out charging bay, and maybe just a box that'll sit in there that won't slide around, and that can be a little charging bay in there. I'll put some switches in it, and then I'll have this section here just to put other miscellaneous stuff like the barbecue and stuff like that that'll just fit in there nicely, and the other side can be for the longer stuff. But yeah, I'm just still to nut that out. Maybe a little bit more tightening up on the wires. I should turn that down so it's 90 degrees running down. That's the heat sensor inside the cab, because I want to see, you know, the temperature basically that I've got inside and with the instrument. It'll be interesting because it used to get really hot in the front there. You know, 47, 48, 49 degrees sometimes, really hot. And I know for a fact the cab doesn't get anywhere near that hot. And I know also I don't get any moisture in here. No moisture in here at all. Whereas I used to get a lot of moisture in there, and a lot of the connectors and that, when I pulled them out, they were really badly corroded, and that probably attributes to the earthing problems I was dealing with. You know, eventually I think I will put a lift out box in here that will have a I'll have an Anderson plug that will provide the charging points. I'm going to run a bigger inverter. I think I'll go for a bigger battery, and I'm going to put probably 160 watt of solar on the roof of the camper. So that's that pretty well sorted out. There may be a couple of changes, but I really like the idea of having, you know, having a little bit of a box in here, you know, just to protect this gear. That'll be bolted in, and this space here, box will have a side and probably comes up there, but it'll be lifted out so I can get to the fuses and such, get to the panel if I need to, and probably just a couple of pins that'll sit in, and maybe a clip or something to hold it down, but I'll work that out in a while. And I think I have this little charging bay. But you can see it doesn't show any percentage charge. This is pretty typical of Redvision, or in fact most systems when you first plug them in. It wants to go through a full cycle, and it's showing the battery at 13.4 volt, which isn't 100%. It might need to go up a little bit, but you can see inside that cab it's 35 degrees at the moment. Or that's the battery temperature actually. You can see the battery temperature is 45 degrees. In the drawer here, because the fridge isn't on, so the drawer where the fridge sits, that's running at 33 degrees, and in the cab at the moment it's 34 degrees. So it's all looking pretty good at this stage, and probably just over 2 days work to get it all done. There was a lot of cable, you know, tightening and cable running, and I've mounted the shunt there. It's not I don't think it was the best place to mount it, but I wanted it somewhere where it was out of the way, and you know, and it wasn't. I find it a bit of an eyesore if it's mounted over there or somewhere. Oh look, I've got there's a screw falling down there. Must have been from when the trailer was made. There's a learning curve, guys, in the way you might have seen me do things when I did this. Don't take it as verbatim as that's the correct way. I'm not an auto sparky or by any means in that area. It's just, I just, you know, go with the flow and learn what I can and read it off of YouTube and work it out, and it all seems to have worked. And as far as the pin out goes, it looks to be pretty much how it was before, because I did mark a lot of the cables, so I knew which cables went where for the runs. And but yeah, I think I've nailed it. I suppose long term we'll see, but it's actually been powered up for 24 hours, because I did have it to the point where I could power it up yesterday, and so it's been powered up for 24 hours, and touch wood, I didn't come out to a pile of ash this morning, so that's good. You know, I really like that I've got it up here in the canopy now, and it's out of that front box. Anyway team, that's it. Enough rabbiting on. If you're watching the channel and you're enjoying it, subscribe by all means. Oh, my nephew's just got home. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the all notifications button, and you won't miss out on any future, notifications. And take it easy. I'm actually going to allow myself, I haven't had a beer for a month, I'm going to allow myself to have 2 beers today. So we're done. Cheers, team. If you got to this part of the video, thanks very much. Tick that like box, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe and tick the all for notifications. Cheers, team.